Hi, everyone. I'm Avi Rajagopal, editor-in-chief of Metropolis magazine, and I'm thrilled to introduce you today to a few students from the Metropolis Future 100, who are the top architecture and interior design students graduating in the US and Canada this year. Joining me today to help you get to know these students is Robin Novak, who is the Vice President and National Retail Practice Leader at Nelson Worldwide, who are also one of the sponsors of this initiative. Robin, such a pleasure to have you with me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I was super excited to be involved in this.
So, Robin, give us your first impressions of these students.
Yeah.
What did you think of them?
Oh, it was so exciting to see all the work and it was super refreshing too. It was so enjoyable to see the level of thought, the variety in craft and execution, and the different approaches behind all the projects. I really found intriguing and rewarding.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It's just been such a great experience getting to know these students and their work. Academia is often criticized as some kind of ivory tower, but I was really struck by how connected these students are, to each other, to community, to history, especially in some of the projects we're going to look at today. It feels like the work is really always about context, even if the concepts are, really inventive and fresh. So I'm thrilled to dive in with you today. And so let's take a look at some of the students' work.
Great.
Hi, my name is Belle Carroll, and I'm honored to have been selected by Metropolis magazine for their Future 100 list, recognizing students for their academic careers. My favorite project from school is one that I call I Want to Hold Your Hand. It's a senior living project that studied the potential of architecture to ensure our autonomy as we move into old age. The scenario I dealt with were people who were entering retirement and who needed new levels of care, but did not want to move out of the home and neighborhood that they had tended to for years. The idea of adding prosthetics to architecture, like that of prosthetics to the body, started with the handrail, then graduated to furniture, and ultimately gave a design for a floor plan and an entire building. The major theme of the project is adaptability. How can your home respond to your needs as you age? I invite you to check out more about this project on my website at bellemcarroll.cargo.site. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Caroline, and I'm a senior graduating from the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth, majoring in interior architecture and design. One of my projects I featured in my portfolio for the submission was Hourglass Tapas and Bar. This project is a sit-down small plate restaurant designed around the concept of an hourglass. Hourglass is committed to bringing people together, so the menu is mainly made up of small plates, also called tapas, to incentivize groups to order a few dishes and share them among the table. With a variety of different seating arrangements and seating types, Hourglass is sure to provide many options for group and communal seating. The curves of the hourglass are used subtly in the finishes, furnishings, and layout. Cacti are used throughout the restaurant to add natural greenery and ornamentation. They also have the ability to grow in sand, which is the element that measures time in an hourglass. The guests experience the idea of time if they decide to go from the restaurant, down the elevator or stairs, to the speakeasy bar. The bar is designed to be a contemporary version of a 1920s Prohibition-era speakeasy by taking details and inspiration and implementing them in a subtle way.
Hi, my name is Madeline Orkett, and I am one of Metropolis Future 100 design recipients, and I'll be graduating this spring with a BA in Interior Design and a minor in Art History from Kent State University. Within interior design, I find it important to understand the historical context of a space. The project that best reflects this is my art museum and cafe I designed in Florence, Italy. The project was an adaptive reuse building, and over the course of time, the building has switched from public to private occupancies. In order to further explore the ideas of public and private space, I exploited glass as a material to understand those boundaries and transparencies. Another important part of the project was that the pieces on display were from the Art Nouveau period, which predominantly has whiplash curves. In order to make deeper connections within the pieces in the interior, I introduced curves throughout the space as well as an ease of circulation for the people interacting within the art.
My name is Nicole Roberts, and I am a senior interior design student at Auburn University. Naturally, my design process has many layers. However, the first aspect that I research is location, demographics, and culture behind where the project is located. I think this is very important to include in your design process, not only to create a well-formed space, but also so it can be functional to the people using it. You can see this approach carried out in all of my projects, but especially the commercial project for YouTube in Budapest, Hungary. For example, through my research, I found that the Dunab River is extremely important to Budapest culture. I chose to incorporate the curvature of the river through the wayfinding and curved glass partitions. This allows for more privacy between the offices, as well as an open concept where employees can interact with one another. The influence that culture has on my design process can also be seen in my retail project for Chanel in India through the choice of handmade wallpaper and vibrant colors, and in my hospitality project for the Raffles Hotel in Singapore through the emphasis of the historical colonial architecture, which is important to Singapore's history today. Throughout all of my projects, you will see this nod to the culture and historical integrity of the location, because I believe in the importance of emphasizing history while reimagining and creating new spaces.
That was such a wonderful set of projects. And what's amazing is that they all share this common thread of really being tied to place, whether we're talking about seniors who kind of don't want to leave the home that they're tied to, or we're talking about, cultural contexts or historical contexts. It's really fantastic. Robin, what did you think?
I completely agree. I thought, the collective of the four of them together, when you think about the contextual reference, and what I found so kind of interesting about each one of them was their articulation of it. The level of articulation behind each of these projects was pretty exciting. And when you think about that contextual reference, I do think it's something that we're seeing across the broader design community today. And knowing that these students have the foresight to be really pushing the realms now, I think it will be really exciting for where our future continues to take us in the design world.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, we're having such big conversations about what is local and what is global, and how we can use place to build connection and belonging across those design sectors today. So yeah, totally agree with you. This is a fantastic set of students. Let's take a look at our next group of students.
Hi, my name is Ashley Schwartz, and I'm an upcoming graduate with an interior design degree from Kent State University. Today I'm going to be speaking about my Woodlawn Food Hall project that is located in Woodlawn, Chicago, and was developed in partnership with the YWCA. Our studio focused on addressing social issues like gentrification and redlining. My design addresses these issues by using the food hall as a vessel to amplify local business owners. This process included prototyping vendor spaces to replicate a drive-through, a food truck, a bar, and a storefront. Having differing vendor designs allows for unique interactions with consumers and for vendors to express their individual brands and experiences. Working with the YWCA allowed for the development of an incubator program that gives local chefs an opportunity to partner with a mentor in a teaching kitchen. There's also an incubator retail space for startups to utilize a mock store without having to pay overhead and also using a mentor. Overall, this project has opened my eyes to how design can be a tool to correct systemic social issues within society.
The project I decided to talk about is my proposal for the Girls for Gender Equity, which is a nonprofit organization focused on the equality of women, especially ages 9 to 19, because they're focused on after-school programs and proposal of bills and just overall education to women that are reaching maturity. So to talk a little bit about my design development and my concept for this project, I think my biggest challenge was to create a space that symbolizes change but is still kept current throughout the different development stages of these girls, because they are ranging from ages 9 to 19. So I took this issue and created a feature, which is my staircase. I decided to use that as a symbol of growing from a young age to a maturity. So I separated the floors in a way that the younger girls will be mostly focused on the bottom floors, and the top floor will slowly develop into a little bit of a more mature color palette, more mature activities. And I got very inspired by Georgia O'Keeffe's and her artwork and her political point of view. And
overall in all my projects, I really enjoy finding sustainable solutions for long-lasting structures, but also I really enjoy researching other artists' views on social and political issues that I encounter while researching for a specific project.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan Brown and I'm an undergraduate senior from the Interior Design program at the Rochester Institute of Technology. I wanted to start by thanking Metropolis Magazine for the honor of being named a Metropolis Future 100 and for the opportunities that brings. One of my favorite projects that I've completed since starting my degree was for our Hospitality Design Studio course. We were tasked with creating a restaurant inspired by a piece of Rochester, New York history. For those of you who might not know, George Eastman, the founder of the Kodak Photography Company, was raised right here in Rochester. The company was founded here, and the city continues to house the company's headquarters. The multi-experience ADA-compliant dining space utilizes the plan from an oddly shaped building in downtown Rochester. The vistas from the corner structure were to be incorporated into the design in unique ways. Aperture, the name of the design, takes inspiration from Kodak and also from Damian Ortega's Olympus. Like Ortega, I decided to research and celebrate the intricacies and fragility of a camera's parts and pieces. Throughout the space, visitors can identify parts such as the camera's viewfinder, shutters, and even the accordion-like lens from the Kodak pocket camera. As a guest in a restaurant, the delicateness of a camera translates well into a dining experience and creates a unique atmosphere where everyone can enjoy a meal or drink and where individuals from Rochester can recognize a part of their past. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I look forward to sharing more about my projects in the future.
Hi, my name is Yasmin Ben Al-Taif, and I'm completing my Master's in Architecture at Columbia University this May. Building the Bronx is an affordable housing, mixed-use residential project in the Bronx, New York. The driving concept of the project is to rethink living norms in the 21st century, offering a more dynamic way of living with ample amenities and community spaces leveraged over private spaces. The second concept for the project was in relationship to form. We wanted to optimize the environmental performance of the building, and we looked at daylighting and shading as well as cross ventilation as main drivers for the form of the building.
What an exciting group of projects. What I found really intriguing about this particular group of projects was kind of the association and relevance regardless of scale, right? You look at Eastman's project and it was just, to me, it was an incredible piece of work and some amazing drawings, really, as she articulated, rethinking the norms of the 20th century through these vertical layers. And it really, the scale of it, of large scale, but down to the local personal level. And then kind of, in a completely different point of view and a completely different approach. But Ashley's a project on the Woodland Food Hall, such local relevance and, the articulation of details and thought in that. And, also stylistically, I love the approach and her style of her drawings as a way of communicating. I think sometimes there's that lost art of how our drawings as designers really articulate our design, and the point of view and the stylistic approach that she took was almost art upon itself, just in the style, which I thought was really intriguing and again personal.
Absolutely. Ashley's rendering style is just so great, and it's a reminder, as you said, that the way we express a project also has to do with the spirit of the project itself, right? So I think we forget this. We're so caught up with the photorealistic sort of expression these days that we forget that there are other ways to kind of invoke the spirit of a space. The other thing I really loved, Robin, across these projects, you talked about the diversity of scale. I love that they are also they're differently scaled. They're also very different project types. There's hospitality, there's a nonprofit in there, there's affordable housing, and yet they kind of share this real concern for the people that they're being designed for, the community. There's a real kind of progressive, maybe not necessarily in a political sense, but really forward-looking, really hopeful and optimistic point of view in these projects that I really responded to.
I completely agree with you, and I think that historical reference or connotation of the relationship between past and future, it is interesting to see the progressive nature of some projects, but still that underlying tone of relevance of, remember this place, remember, the Kodak example is a great example of many people don't know, but what a way to tell a story in a more contemporary manner of having an experience brought to life to teach the next generation about something that's very key to Rochester, for example.
Absolutely, absolutely. None of these students are, hitting you on the head with their vision or agenda. It's just so subtle, so nicely done. And I'm sure these spaces would be great to experience, in and of themselves. So very thrilled with these group of students. Let's look at a few more projects.
Architecture should be expanded to the device scale that can shift our relationship with climate or the environment, and can relate us to the non-human and the non-living, two dimensions I never realized before. The project Sound Strata proposes simultaneously two associated architectural artifacts in very different scales. One is related to the body scale, understood as a sound system, and the other is related to the building scale, as a performative tower. The sound device brings into discussion the idea that a city experience can be modified and transformed in relationship to the sound and noises, and pursued to evidence this in a physical way. The other scale is more related to a performative tower, which is structured through a series of bubble layers that make visible the taxonomy of sounds that we propose. These bubbles are inflated, deflated, in relationship with the sound levels of the city. A converter system is able to associate them with a specific volume of air and with the sound source, which is represented by different colors associated to the taxonomy. Architecture should also be expanded to a network scale, meaning that buildings are not isolated entities, neither fixed. We can create and trace a whole new set of relationships and moving connection between scales, entities, communities, or institutions. The building will always stay in the same place. Now I realize that I can be moving between devices and networks. Architecture can be unstable, ephemeral, or performative, and by so it can generate new changes.
Hi, I'm Gwyneth Harris. I'm in my third year of the Master of Architecture program at the University of Buffalo. I'd like to share with you a project that I worked on with Charles Wingfelder, my peer and design partner for this project. We designed a contemporary art center for downtown Buffalo, New York. The site, currently used as grade parking, would anchor the corner of two major cultural streets, filling in the urban fabric and activating the street. Reflecting on the climate in Buffalo, which is cold and overcast for much of the year, we wanted to find ways to celebrate daylight and connection to the outdoors when it is nice. The design concept focuses on selectively introducing daylight to create a variety of conditions throughout the building, and also on an idea about openness and porosity in the building's massing to provide respite from gallery fatigue. We created two broad categories of galleries we called introvert galleries and extrovert galleries. The introvert galleries are fully enclosed, inward-looking volumes that are pulled apart along specific edges to create light slices that wash the walls with top light or side light. The extrovert galleries are outward-looking, providing views overlooking the city and evoking the experience of an outdoor sculpture garden. Some of these spaces are actual outdoor terraces, but most are enclosed in glass with a lacy screen to create dappled sunlight. As visitors make their way down from the top floor, their path meanders between all of the different gallery types. The public spaces on the first and second level, including a gallery shop, cafe and terrace, and public forum, engage the street and draw people into the gallery. These spaces could also be open after hours. We think the flexibility and variety of spaces in this gallery building and the way it engages with the surrounding context would create a valuable cultural destination for both local Buffalo residents and visitors. Thanks for watching.
Hi everyone, my name is Kelly McGrath, and I'm currently a senior at Pratt Institute for Interior Design. And the project I wanted to talk to you today about was called the Tool Shed. It was for a project located at SDR Park called the Stanton Building, and we worked directly with the community members' needs, which was super exciting for me. It felt very real, and we proposed these projects at the end. And what I intended to do was to create a tool shed for the community for sharing resources, knowledge, advice. There would be give-take boxes outside where the community members could really exchange and have chance encounters, serendipitous zones where you can play with recreation tools that were outside like balls and jump ropes, etc. And then inside there would be a tool library with power drills and everything that you can borrow in addition to computers and tutoring rooms and anything that the community members might need that they don't have in their home right now. The idea was that with this very dense urban living environment, with predominantly very small living spaces, I wanted to create a space that you can borrow and use these tools, and it would become a space for exchange. And it was really exciting for me working with materials because I was actually thinking about ways that the building can circulate from the community and what they give. So for example, the community members could give their old nuts and bolts or kitchen cabinets or tiles, and they can become part of the building itself. For example, there would maybe even be these little classes where you can come and with nuts and bolts you can create a guardrail, a stair guardrail, or local construction working stores could provide the wood pallets that could become part of the ceiling, or the tiles can become part of the bathroom wall surface. And it was just really exciting for me to think about how to make these joyful spaces and really try to enliven the space for the community. And I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much. Bye.
Hi, I'm Rina Du. I'm a graduate student from University of Idaho. I will graduate this summer. I'm very happy can be selected for this year's Metropolis Future 100. I have to say so many thanks to Metropolis and my nominator Bruce Hagland. And this project is called Spinning Forest. It's a future community. And this project is located in Shanghai, China. And this project had won the second place in 2020 Future Community Creative Design International Competition. With the rapid advancement of science and technology, 5G and various robots are being more and more frequently in our daily life. So as a social development, the aging population has become to a serious problem for all over the world. I try to use this design to find a solution in this project. And also sustainable design will be more and more important for a designer. So in this project, I tried to make a combination and combine technology, people's needs, and sustainable design together. I use CLT as the main material. The core structure is built on site. It looks like the tree trunk. The surrounding area looks like the leaf. They can be made up at different factories at the same time by robots. This way can help us to save more time and manpower. Every single unit can spin 360 degrees around the center. I do have 3 different units for different people. They are single family units, retirement units, and multi-family units. And every single unit has their own top garden. In big cities, most people, they don't have enough outdoor space, but the top garden will give them space to relax. They can park their cars on the top garden as well. This building is more than a living space. It's like a vibrant tree, can be planted at anywhere, and provide one-stop service for residents. And here are some interior renderings for this project. I hope you can like it. And here is Rina Du from the University of Idaho.
Pretty exciting projects when you look at it. And, you know, those particular projects for me, I think the thing that really stood out was the endearing quality about a response to kind of a civic approach, really thinking about the future of the city, as I think one of them mentioned. I love the dynamic thought behind that in the terms of scale. Again, and a lot of these projects have been about relationships of scale, and whether it's the future city and it's the full tower down to the tool shed, which is still a civic responsibility and an offering for a community. It's a different scaled conversation about the community, which I thought was really interesting. Another big takeaway I had from these projects as well was the role of modularity, like the conceptual nature to think of things as volumes and how the future of construction and the buildability and the positive negative relationships of those volumes and daylighting and, you know, even natural plant was really a great conversation that I thought, you know, was a thread across a lot of those projects.
Absolutely. I think those were my two big sort of reactions to these projects too. What's interesting is that they seem to think of architecture not just as a way to connect, to form connections between people, but also that architecture relies on those connections between people for its success, right? So, I mean, when you think about, Guillermo's conversation about, architecture forming networks rather than immobile buildings, this idea that, sound is all around us and that you can create this sort of ephemeral structure to capture that sound, to express it, to kind of, make visible this connection we have with each other in the city, but that, remains invisible and remains a very personal experience. And then the tool shed where, then each of us contributes something to a commons, right? Something that we hold in trust together as a community. And that was linked through in the Art Center project as well, in the Spinning Forest Towers as well. I completely agree. So, I think that modularity is such a key concept here. And Robin, you just stuck to the heart of it, right? It's modularity in terms of construction, yes, and types of spaces, yes, and can we think of the building itself as a kit of parts, but also a sort of modularity in terms of thinking of architecture or interior design itself, in that bits of architecture and interior design can reside with different people, different user groups. They can be relevant to different sort of people. Like, I love that vision of like somebody bringing their tiles and somebody bringing their tools to kind of create this interior. It's a different kind of modularity. And I just love that thinking. Absolutely.
I do. And I think it's interesting that perspective, like you said, it was all about connectivity. And as humans, I mean, that's what we all really want, is we want to make and create and continue to foster connections. And what a great way to allow the thinking behind these projects, that design and architecture could really be a method to just continually deliver another level of connection for all of us in all different scales of our lives.
Absolutely. I mean, this has been something that I've really enjoyed seeing across the 100 students that we selected as part of this inaugural Future 100 group. Even where the expression or the project type might seem conventional at sort of first glance, the thinking behind it is almost always unconventional. There's always something new and fresh that the students are bringing to these projects, and that's been absolutely fantastic to see. Robin, thanks so much for joining me today, and thank you to Nelson, as well as to our other sponsors, Canon Design and Interface, for supporting this initiative. It's really important to us, and we really, really enjoyed working with you on this project. For more on the Future 100, including samples of their work, analyses of their work, as well as profiles of the students, you can visit metropolismag.com/future100, and also take a look at our March-April issue, which is really dedicated to these students. We're absolutely thrilled to be able to bring these students' work to you, and we hope you enjoy diving into this work. We hope you enjoy connecting to these students. We hope you might even be inspired to reach out to them. We want this kind of amazing thinking to suffuse through the architecture and design industry here in North America. And we're so privileged to have these students share their work with us. So thank you so much, Robin. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And I hope you have a wonderful time exploring the work of our Future 100 students.
Here we are, Location Luxe. I'm your host, Alan Canas, and here in Season 1, we'll be focused on what we're calling the Great Lifestyle Migration. On each episode, I'll be right here in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. Over the last few decades, we've witnessed a great migration for employment and technology development. As such, the need and demand for homes has been among the highest in the country. These migration choices are giving people an extraordinary opportunity to explore new locations, amenities, and lifestyle options. And that's why we're here. Location Luxe. This week, I am so honored to welcome one of our Realm founders, Chris Richardson, who is also a top real estate agent in the Central Coast of California. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Alan. I'm thrilled to be here with you today.
Chris, you know how this works. I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to answer them, or maybe you're not going to answer them. And I'm going to do most of the talking because, you know, that's just how real estate agents are. Chris, before we get into that, the Central Coast of California is not just a destination location. It is a beautiful, gorgeous lifestyle. And Chris, we want to know a little bit about you and a little bit about your team and your company, because you have an amazing team. So tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks again, Alan, for having me. Thrilled to be here with you today. Yeah, fortunate enough to live here and work on the Central Coast. We've have a boutique real estate brokerage focused on the kind of luxury sector of our market. We've been growing it over 30 years, and it's been a great run. We love this area, the Central Coast, halfway between Los Angeles and San Francisco. And we're just fortunate every day to call this place home. Our real estate brokerage is made up of about 50 real estate professionals covering San Luis County, which extends from basically Nipomo, California to Paso Robles. I personally have a small team, and we focus on the coastal markets, Avila Beach, Pismo Beach, San Luis Obispo, the Edna Valley, and that's our footprint that we cover.
And it's a gorgeous footprint. Pretty damn lucky.
It's a special part of California.
There is a huge buzz with migration to the Central Coast. Tell us what the buzz is about with people buying a primary residence and a secondary residence home in the Central Coast.
Yeah, it's been really interesting, like many parts of California and around the nation. Obviously, people are moving around, and I think they're re-looking at where they live and how they live and what they need from their home. We've historically seen a lot of demand from Los Angeles Metro and San Francisco Bay Area, and that has really been fueled during the times that we're in with the lockdown and COVID-19. And we're seeing much more demand from those areas. I think people that are in those parts of California are now able to work remote, and their San Luis Obispo, which may have not been an option for them in the past, is now something that is attainable and works with their work needs and demands. So we're seeing increased demand from those areas. We also see demand from the Central Valley. We are starting to see more buyers from the Pacific Northwest. We have a direct flight now from our new regional airport that was built a couple years ago, the new terminal. And so we're starting to see more buyers from Seattle area.
Chris, what are the seasonal activities that people are seeing in your area?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got great beaches, Alan, and there's so many activities obviously surrounded by that: surfing, kayaking, paddleboarding. There's just some amazing locations to have that experience. We have some incredible hiking. There's the Seven Sister Mountains, which you can see one of them behind me here. And the hiking and mountain biking is some of, I think, the best in the country and maybe even in the world. We also have, for the post-surf beach activity or hiking or mountain biking, the wine industry has gone crazy here. It has sort of I think, a bit of a Napa vibe. And so, maybe after the mountain bike or the hike, sitting at one of the beautiful wineries here in the Edna Valley, which is where we are today, is an amazing experience to be had on the Central Coast.
Well, and you have some of the best spas. That's my best pastime. Tell us a little bit about what a buyer can expect when we are looking at homes in your area. What type of architectural designs can we expect?
So, Alan, we've seen, over the years, we had a lot of the Spanish, Mediterranean influence with, I think, just the roots of San Luis Obispo with the mission right in the downtown. We are starting to see more modern farmhouse, and that seems to really be resonating and appealing to buyers that are coming from the markets that we talked about, south and north and east of us. So buyers can expect to see a bit of a mixed bag in terms of the architectural styles. I think the market is maturing in that regard, and so we're starting to see more, like I said, more of the contemporary and more of the modern farmhouse options out there for buyers.
We're seeing the same here in the Bay Area Peninsula, Silicon Valley. So Chris, how easy is it to get in and out of the Central Coast?
It's become a lot easier to get in and out of the Central Coast, Alan. We had, fairly recently, we had a new terminal built probably 2 or 3 years ago. We went from I think it was 6,000 square foot terminal to now it's 40,000 square feet. And candidly, it was a little bit embarrassing to me when we would have people fly in for the first time into that old terminal. So the new terminal was a massive upgrade for our community. It was a much needed investment, and it's already paying significant dividends. The experience when people land in San Luis Obispo for the first time and come through that airport, I think it starts the whole experience of the Central Coast in a real positive way that we never had before. And then that opened us our market up to many more destinations. So we have Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Denver, Phoenix, Las Vegas, and Portland are on the horizon, and as well as Sacramento. So with those destinations, you have a lot of options. So if you're going to the East Coast or Midwest, you can fly through Denver is a decent option. We also added Dallas as another destination. So with those flights, that has really opened up the Central Coast in a way that we never had been before. And again, that experience when people get off the plane and walk into the airport, I think we're one of only 2 airports that has, once you go through security, you go into an outdoor area in between the security and the gate area. And so it's a really neat experience, and it's picturesque. You can start to get a feel for the Edna Valley, where many of our wineries are located. So we're thrilled to have that resource in our community. It's really opened up some doors for us.
Chris, what can a buyer expect to see in price points in properties that they, when they're coming out to the Central Coast?
So, Alan, it varies pretty dramatically because our county is fairly large, and there's such different locations. So, for instance, homes on the coast, so like Pismo Beach, Avila Beach, right on the water, we're seeing price points around the $1,000 a foot range. But then, if you go inland, that could drop down to $350 or $400 a square foot.
Wow.
So our price point, depending on where you're at, I mean, a kind of average home would be, $500,000 or $600,000 could in one location, but that same type of home could be $1 million in another location, primarily depending on the proximity to the ocean and then the size of the parcel and where it is in the county. So we've got a lot of different options here on the Central Coast. We've got different microclimates, which people often have to kind of, get up to speed on and learn, because there's very different climates within our county. So there's really different parts of the county and different price points.
Chris, can you tell me a little bit about the year-over-year appreciation? What are you seeing?
We've been seeing, I would say, for the last, 4 or 5 years, we probably see between 4 and 8% appreciation rate. So it's been pretty steady. Last year was a little bit higher. I think we were more like 7 to 12%, again, depending on where in the county. That's why there's a range on that year-over-year increase. So that's what we're seeing. Like many parts of California and in the nation, we have really limited supply right now and higher demand at all price points than we've seen in my 20 years in the business here on the Central Coast.
When a buyer is going to look at a property or viewing properties, what type of condition can they expect? Are they updated? Are they in original condition? What are they expecting?
Sort of like the conversation we had about the architecture, I think I would say that it's a mix. A lot of the housing stock that we're seeing come up on the market can be older, and that could be, an 80s vintage or a 90s or an early 2000s. So it's a really varied. Some people have updated the homes, and so a buyer could expect to see a fully updated home, but there also could be that early 90s or right around 2000 vintage that is due for an update. So that needs to be factored in when they're looking at property and the price point and what they want to do to it to potentially bring it current if it's one of those homes that hasn't been updated at this point.
Chris, can you tell us a little bit about the culture, restaurants, art scene, and about the schools that are in the area?
The school districts are fantastic here, highly rated. There are some private schools, but most people are comfortable with their kids attending the public schools because they're such good schools. So I think that's a huge selling point for our community, is the quality of the schools. Like many places, that really can drive the market. As far as the restaurant scene, it has really been evolving and kind of being enhanced. The wine industry and the food scene, obviously those two pair well together, and they play off of each other. So there's plenty of great restaurants to have an amazing dining experience here on the Central Coast, whether you want something on the coast with that kind of vibe, or downtown, or maybe a little bit more in the wine region. There are a lot of options and a lot of great restaurants.
So Chris, I ask this of everybody that comes onto the show, and so you are no exception, and this is one of the questions you don't have to answer, but do you have a favorite client story?
I have a lot of them. Have amazing clients like you, Alan, and all of us that have been in the business for a while. We recently sold another home in Avila Beach to a young couple. The wife had gone to Cal Poly. The husband had started a company and recently had sold it, and they were able to move their family back here. They bought a beautiful kind of Mission Spanish style home, and they actually updated it significantly and just made it spectacular. And it was just amazing to see them, having gone to school here, had a love for the Central Coast, had never been able to envision being able to move back, and then the circumstances led to what they did, and they were able to buy here. And I bump into them all the time, and they're just so happy, and they're getting involved in the community. So those are the kind of stories that just kind of give you a little bit of goosebumps, and seeing people be able to make that kind of a move that has such a positive impact on their family is really, I think that's one of the main reasons why we get up and do what we do,
Yes.
because those are just amazing experiences.
Definitely. Nice, beautiful. So tell us a little bit about why you are living there. What keeps you there?
Essentially the quality of life. It's just a special part of California. I've had the opportunity to live in many places: Southern California, Santa Barbara, San Francisco. They're all amazing places and parts of California. But for me, this just feels like home. The people are really amazing. Obviously, the weather is incredible. I love the energy of the college town. Our downtown has really evolved and been growing in a really thoughtful manner. The quality of life here is just over the top. And again, it's just a special part of California. It's the right size. It's not too small. It's not too big. If you want to get to LA, you can get to LA pretty easily. If you want to get to San Francisco, you can get to San Francisco pretty easily. And now with the airport, that's opened up access to flying and visiting other parts of the country. So for all those reasons, I love the Central Coast.
Sounds perfect. Perfect. Chris, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Location Luxe.
Thank you, Alan. It's been a pleasure to be here with you today, and I really appreciate the opportunity and to share a little bit about the Central Coast. It's an amazing part of California, as I've mentioned.
It has been amazing. Thank you.